Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I'm going to work on a fun analyzer and code fix for Transpire. It's something that I've thought of before, but I never wrote down. And then I ran into it a day or two ago, and I'm like, hey, I never wrote this down. Should do this. So we're going to actually do it. It seems like it should be pretty straightforward. And it doesn't cause a problem, as I'll show in a moment, but it's just one of those nice things that I would like to put in. Because, well, let me explain what this is and then why. So as you can see here in this GitHub issue, that it's a string that's defined as an interpolated string. So it has the $sign in front of it, but it actually has no interpolation. And I'm imagining with this syntax node that there's an interpolation collection. At least that's what it seems like in the syntax visualizer. So I'm thinking, that, well, why don't you remove it? If it's actually not an interpolated string, then why put the $sign in front of it? I was imagining that the compiler was actually going to be smart enough to figure this out, and it does. So I just whipped up some code here in my console app 8, which I'm going to have to eventually knock off and get rid of all my Analyzer 1, console app 8, and all these other ones that I got floating around, and just clear them out because they're just meant to be little explorations like this. I could have actually, now that I think about it, I could have done this in SharpLab, right? Well, let's actually go to SharpLab and let's do this, because that's really where it should be. If I'm going to do these little experiments, maybe what I need to do is get used to SharpLab and just use that as my playground. Okay. So if I do something like this, okay, well, it doesn't know what that is, but it should have that in there. And now we're good. We don't want to see the syntax tree. We want to see the decompilation. Except we want to see the decompilation. But what's interesting is that you'll see that it calls it value. I'm not sure why it calls it value. Maybe it loses the name of it. But it treats it as a string. It doesn't do it as a formatted string, which is actually kind of interesting because in, C# next, which is actually C# 10. So they need to actually, let me see if I can find it here. Interpolated string improvements. Yeah. So if we pick that, then it shouldn't be doing string format anymore. It should be doing something else. But even in C# 9, you'll notice that that the strings in both cases are just literal strings. It doesn't actually make it an interpolated string. Now that's actually a little disturbing because C# next, if I come over here and show you an ILSpy what it's actually doing with C# 10, even though it shows C# 9, I'm sure that will get updated in a moment, is that both of these strings are just strings. The third one is an interpolated string. It has a hole in it, so it's got to fill it in with X. But these other two are not. And in fact, when I first did this, I actually left this with the same value. And what was really interesting is when I would build that and get the output from that one, come on, and then come over here and let's refresh. Well, in that case, it doesn't. Okay, that was interesting. I thought when I was looking at the IL before, or the C# code before, is that I wasn't actually assigning these to the two same things. I was actually assigning them to one. I think, though, it was because I didn't have this in play. And then I did that, I built that, and now it's failing. Oh, because this is never being used. Fine, let's get rid of that, build that, say that, and now come over here. And now you'll see that it actually says there's even one variable because you don't even need two. So it's fun to see what the compiler does in these cases. But the point is, there is no need to have the interpolation there if you don't have it. The compiler underneath the scenes will handle it just like a literal string, which is good. It won't do all the stuff with the default interpolated string handler. Yeah, that's the thing I was going to show, because that's the thing I was fearing, is that what it might do is something like this. If we build that and then come over here and show this, is that it would actually do like an append literal and then toString and clear, which it doesn't. It's smart, so that's good. So this isn't going to be even a warning. This is just going to be informational. I think this is the first time I'm going to write a analyzer that tells you this is just information, because you really don't need it. And then, of course, you can bump it up to error if you want. So this happens at times where I've had a string where I no longer, in fact, a previous video, I think I was showing this, where you no longer need a interpolation on it because I've removed stuff from it such that now it's just a literal string. Okay. So I want to make a analyzer that lets you know when you have an interpolated string that has no interpolation, and then a code fix that just simply makes it a string literal, and off you go. Okay. Now what's funny too is that while I'm doing this new branch, when I'm going to be making this new branch, is that I'm also working on a branch for another analyzer code fix for making parse to try parse. And I've actually been doing this with a Twitch stream that I'm now doing for my job at Rocket Mortgage. So we're doing streams, and I've been talking a lot about analyzers and code fixes because I love doing that. And it's also something that people are doing internally at Rocket as well. So it applies. And it's been a lot of fun going through that. It's just the fun thing too, though, is that I have some stuff in this branch and I got some stuff in this branch, and do I keep them completely separate? Do I try to keep one updated from the other? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So because I don't want to commit the stuff from the try parse branch to main just yet, because there's one or two things that I need to do for the next stream to, I think, get it into a place where I can say it's done and I can move on from where it is. And then once that happens, then I think I'll keep this separate and merge in them both, and then figure out if I need to do any, tweaks on when I merge them together. So I also want to make sure that you see this. I have let me get up here so you can see the Rush shirt on. I have a lot of Rush shirts that have gotten so worn out now they're workout shirts. So they don't they don't make the grade as to being just a regular shirt that I'd wear. But I got this shirt because Rush worked with a brewery in Toronto, I believe. It's called Henderson, to make some Rush beers. And of course, it's not going to be for sale in the United States. I cry. I'm sad. So I did the next best thing and got this shirt, which is about, I think it says books are for tourists, beers are for gentlemen. I can't read this upside down, so I don't know what it actually says, but yeah, it's a nice shirt. Gotta keep the Rush shirts going, even though the band is no more. And sometimes I feel sad about that, but I'm also very, very happy because it's a band that I think is going to be so unique in so many ways over the course of history. I don't think there's going to be any band that's going to reach a lot of what they were able to achieve throughout their history. I mean, they had the same lineup for over 40 years, and that's almost unheard of in bands. I can't think of another band off the top of my head. I'd have to sit there and really think long, because they had a different drummer for the first one, John Rutsey, but then they got Neil, and ever since then they were the same three. I can't think of a band that had the same lineup all the way through their career. Maybe Tesla? Maybe. I think they got a different guitarist once. Motley Crue? Maybe, possibly. I don't know. Poison? There's always like one or two people that get replaced. I mean, Dream Theater, I think the bassist and the guitarist are the only original members at this point. So yeah, I mean, they were unique in their own ways and very successful at it. So good for them. All right, let's get into this. Do that. Oh, and I should talk about the drama that happened this weekend with Hot Reload, .NET Watch, and the fact that it was pulled from .NET Watch in a very spurious way. And the backlash from people was quite loud. And for me, I tweeted about this. I'm like, for me personally, I don't use the CLI that much. I don't live on the command line, so I've never used .NET Watch. But people were planning on having Hot Reload with .NET Watch, and to have that just pulled to be like a Visual Studio 2022 only feature really smelled badly. And rightfully so, people complained about it and said this is not how things should go, especially in an OSS world. And I get it. Just like any company, there's that struggle of, well, you want to, everybody likes open source. I think I saw this cartoon recently. Everybody likes open source. How many people use open source? Everybody raises their hand. How many people actually contribute to open source, like money wise, or contribute PRs to these things that you're using at your job? Nobody raises their hand. And that really, really, really bothers me when I see that at companies, when I see that, at places where it's like, oh, sure, we can use all this free software, but no, we cannot contribute to it. That's not allowed. You cannot do that. It's like, well, you're being a hypocrite. You really, really are. Now, that's not what that was just a little tangent. But the tying thread there is just the financial thing is, I get it. Companies have to make money. And if you look at .NET, arguably, it doesn't make any money in and of itself. You can get all the tools on any operating system you want and build .NET apps if that's where you want to go. So there has to be some way to justify it. And the mantra these days is Azure licenses, get people on the Azure, though you can use .NET and AWS as well just fine. So how do you keep justifying all the people that work on .NET and show that it's viable? I mean, me as a developer using it as a platform, I'm very happy with it overall, but does that bring in the money to them? So I get it. I just think this was probably something that could have been handled better. Though I know if they would have said that this would just be a Visual Studio feature from the get-go, then people would have complained and said, why are you locking us into Visual Studio on Windows only and blah, blah, blah. And, it's sometimes I feel like you can't win, so to speak. But I do think the optics on it were a little bad, to say the least. And I'm glad that they reverted it and listened to people and made the right decision. That would have been really hard for them, I think, over the coming months, especially with .NET Conf only a week or two away, which I'm speaking at. But by the time you see this, that would have already happened. I'm really excited about speaking at .NET Conf. But, I think that would have been kind of awkward for them to be talking about the latest .NET 6 release and knowing that this was kind of hanging over their head. And there were some things with the .NET Foundation recently as well that were not received as well. It's an interesting world to push as much as you want with open source, but you still have to find a way to make it financially viable. You just do. A lot of the things I do in open source with rocks and this and other things, to me, it's a means to an end in terms of my career and accomplishments and what I do and doing these videos and building my channel and blah, 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 blah. But if it wasn't for that, I might still do this because I just love coding. I just love programming. I've got so many ideas on what I can do, and it's just fun to me as a developer. It's fun. My wife and I went on a date last night, and we were talking about what would you do if you weren't doing the career that you're doing now. And I sat there and I thought about it. I'm like, because you could say, well, doctor, but would I really want to be a doctor? No. I think I landed on musician. I think I would have said, and I said, could I take what I know now and apply it to me being like 16 or something? Then I would have probably gone for being a musician. I would have studied more on music theory and practiced even more, and I would know better avenues to pursue to make it, to make the odds of being financially viable better and so on. But no, I really love what I do. I enjoy this. This is fun to me. So, but if you're, in a corporation, especially Microsoft or other places, how do you make this financially viable? The guy, Jim, who writes, he's for his own company, Six Laborers, I believe is what it's called. And he does Image Sharp. He's sometimes pretty vocal online about his frustration because he's put in so much hard work in making a really good image library for .NET. And he's just gotten a really, really small amount of licenses for what he's done. And at some point you go, why am I getting millions of downloads? And if I would have just got like a penny for every download, he'd probably be making thousands of dollars doing that. And you should. I mean, if you're putting in hard work to something, you should. And so that's why it gets frustrating. So, doing this because it feels like people just take it and then they complain about when something doesn't work right. And you're not getting any financial value in the first place from putting it out there. So, that's an issue that's it will trigger me is, I don't do consulting, but when I did, and I would see organizations and companies basically do what I thought was very unethical, which is to take all this free software, but contribute nothing back to the owners and the people that run that project. That was wrong. That was wrong to me. It is just simply wrong. So, all right. I probably said this before in an episode, but it does get to me. So let's move on. Let's actually build this feature and load that up into here. So we'll get transpire. And I will pull first because I just want to get the branch from what I'm working on, just so it's there, just to have it. So we'll say fetch, and ignore. And then we'll say, let's just manage branches. We should see, there it is. Okay. So we'll close that, and then we'll say new branch, and no, not that. We want to call this 10. Remove string interpolation. Create. Okay. No. God. I did it wrong. I did it off of. Jeez. This. It's off a local try parse. That is not what I meant to do at all. So let's delete that. Delete. Why? I could well, no, oh God. Reset. This is not what I wanted. Oh, and I'm not smart enough to, I just thought, okay, I made a branch. Well, let's just delete the branch. But there's no changes in the branch, so it's not letting me delete it. And this is now where my lack of Git knowledge is going to hit me hard, because I don't know how to just get rid of this. If it did what I thought it did, then let's actually go. No, it didn't. What is this based off of? No. This is... Okay, if I pick this, what should happen is now we should see this one, and this is 5. Well, we want 6. But that's... If I go here, this should go away because it doesn't exist, but it does. Right. Or does it? I don't... Oh, this is where I feel stupid. Okay. This is where I feel just like an idiot, because I should just be able to get rid of this. So I'm going to actually pause this, figure out how to undo what I did, and we will get back to a real branch off of main, not off of this one. So give me a minute. Okay, we're back. I just basically deleted the repository from my machine and said, screw it. I'm sure there's a way to fix it if it was even a problem in the first place, but I should have just realized, pull it away and start over again. So we are in a branch locally that is off of main, and I think we are all, no, not history. I just want to look at manage branches, because 10 should be based off of main, and it is. Okay, good. We'll figure out how you could reset the head or whatever, or something like that. I'm sure that was what I did wrong, but we're here. We're good. So the first thing I want to do is create a new descriptor. We're going to call it remove interpolated string descriptor. And we know it's 6 because the 5th one is actually the one from the other branch. Okay. So I'm going to do that. And actually anywhere in here, let's change that to that. Okay. And what we want to call this string is not an interpolated string. Sure. And we find usages, instances, find instance of unnecessary interpolated strings. Is that what we kind of, yeah, find usage of datetime now, whatever. It's a name. It's a thing. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is, we'll take that one again, and we'll use our nice name. I kind of like that name. That's nice. It's a nice name. Nope, 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 nope. Why? What did you just do? Did you not keep it? No, I don't want that. Oh my God. Fine. There you go. There you go. And there you go. There you go. There you go. Okay, so now you're complaining about this. Not sure why. Oh, because of that. Okay. And because of that. Okay, so now we're good. We don't want to analyze an operation, though. What we want to do is, I got that close. That's okay. We want to, we don't need this either. We don't care about that. Really, all we want is compilation. If I could spell. Register. Not a symbol. Syntax node action, I think, is what we really want. So we want to say is an action that, what are we calling this? Operation. Oh, so we want to say analyze interpolated string syntax. Okay, that's what we're going to want. RISA. And then we're going to want a mutable array of syntax. No. No. Oh my God. Yeah, params. Okay, so what we want is T language and enum kinds. What is that? Syntax kind? Dot. It was an interpolated. Expression. I believe that's what we want to get. Okay. And then this can all go away. What are you still complaining about? The type arguments from, oh yeah, because, well, you know, if you want a action of a syntax node analysis context, what you need to have here is a syntax node analysis. And I believe you don't bring in a symbol. There we go. Now you're all happy, but now I need to actually do something here. Okay. So I don't think in any of these that I've actually, they're all operations, aren't they? Yeah, I haven't gone back to the old way of where I just needed a node. So context dot node. What we want to have is our var string node, which is equal to an interpolated string expression syntax content node. Okay. Now, here's the big one. Yeah. How do you, if I say here var x is equal to this, I don't care, context. Okay. And now I come over here to syntax visualizer and I put that in here and I say you have a equals value clause. It's an interpolated string expression which should have interpolation, right? Where is, see, sometimes I don't get where this tree is actually like showing you what the actual nodes here, because it doesn't show up down here. See what I mean? So that's what I was hoping for, is that string node here would have just had like the interpolation node here. But it doesn't seem like that's the way it works. There is no interpolation. It's just an interpolated string expression syntax, which really doesn't help. Contents? What is contents? List parts of the interpolated string. Each one is either a literal part or an interpolation. Oh. I guess you could say if string node contents dot any, or what we're looking for is to say if the thing dot get type, or no, if this dot kind is actually equal to a syntax. Oh, you're not. Yeah, is equal to a syntax kind interpolation. But just an interpolation, that's it, right? So if you have any of these, no. If you don't have any of these, so it's an interpolated string that has no interpolations in them. That's what we want. And so now in this case, all we would say is report this. Wait, why are you all screwed up now? I'm doing this in the, what? I feel like I screwed up so much. Oh, don't tell me that I actually created, yeah. It's a Sunday. It's a Sunday. And I'm having a fun day or something. Now I want to actually bring this up. And I noticed that you had space here, and you shouldn't, because all we want is that. Because what we want is that and that. And we don't need this. We just need that to say, where's your location? Now, I'm almost near time, but I want to get just one test in. Okay, just one test. We don't, come on, remove unnecessary usings. Okay. So, oh God, yes, whatever. Whatever. What we want is, we'll do the descriptor test. What? Huh. I thought I actually had descriptor tests here. Do I not? Did I never make descriptor? Oh, that's right. I've already gone through that in my head. Never mind. Never you mind. Okay. They're too basic. They just don't need to be there. Okay. So we're going to want tests. Okay. Let's do that. We're going to want to say this, except that this is going to be a that. Okay, you don't know what that is, except you do now. Public static. And let's just start doing some. I will fill out everything. This, okay, so we want a test that it will actually say analyze when interpolated string has no interpolations. So what we want here is seal class string test with some method. We're going to say var x is equal to, and now in here is where the problem is going to be, because what we want to say is have an interpolated string that says this has no interpolations, boing to net, and that should be good. And you don't know what n unit is, but that's okay. We're going to put you in there now. Change all this, because you don't need it. Apparently you will later, but that's okay. Let's run this one test and see, does it actually work? If I get this one test, then I'll start another episode and start to build more upon this in the code fix. You know, it's because I was just being stupid with Git. Was my problem. So we shall see where this ends up. You can actually pass. Oh, you passed. Oh, you passed. So now let's do two other tests here. Analyze when interpolating string has interpolations. Okay. So we're going to say that this method int value, this has an interpolation x. Okay. And so now this should have it should have no problems. This is actually legitimate. Okay. And we should now see that this will also pass. And then we'll just make a regular string if this one does. That's not interpolated. Oh, it failed. Oh, shoot. Expected 0, actually 1. What's the diagnostic? Cannot use local variable x. Oh, I did the wrong thing. We actually need to pass that in. It's my own fault. I didn't put right code in there. My mistake. So in this case, it should say that this is okay. And now it does. And now we want to have one more test that says, hey, you know what? Analyze when we have string is literal. Okay. So in this case, we don't have that. We are not making a interval. This is a literal string. And that should have no problems either. Okay. So I'm expecting that this will pass because this is not an interpolated string. Anyway, it's a string literal. Should never even got into our code. We're good. I will commit this, and then the next episode, I will be adding a couple more tests here real quick, and then we'll move on to the code fix and see where that goes. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.